Anytime I've tried to get into lead gen habits, I've used a financial detriment to be my pain point because I just hate losing money. I remember when I was a brand new baby agent, it was $100. I had no money at the time, and it was if I didn't do my 20 contacts that day, that I would pay my mom $100. When I'm building something, I have to put a little bit of pain behind it.
Prior to coming to real estate, what's your journey been?
I'm a Phoenix native, born and raised, which is a little bit rare because everybody from Phoenix is not from Phoenix, but I'm somebody who still lives in their hometown. Had a little bit of an interesting childhood. My family went through kind of some rough patches, let's say when I was about 9 or 10. And we kind of experienced homelessness in and out of a few years, which was, it's funny because when I look back to that, it was so different. Like I can appreciate and understand where I came from. But at the time it was more like living that teenage life where it's like, I don't want my friends to not know like where we are or whatever, it was just like living that through a kid's life. My freshman year in high school, my mom was able to get us into our first apartment. And so we kind of got to build this life from there.
That's amazing. So I assume that home ownership is something that's extra special to you. It has extra meaning to help people find their homes.
It does. And it's something that I think it really worked hand in hand because of my age. My database has always been really young. And so this idea of home ownership at a young age was an even cooler way to go about it. So my mom bought her house, but what I didn't mention is my husband and I, we bought ours about 2 months before her. And it was a few blocks apart. So I got to see what it's like to help somebody who was in their 50s buy their first home and then someone who was 25 buy their first home. And that at the same time was really cool to be able to understand, everyone's really going through the same thing. A lot of people buying their first home don't really understand how possible it is. And that's very important to me to be able to bring that to people.
That's wonderful. And how powerful. Well, let's speed ahead to where your business is right now, and talk about what you're doing just on an incredible level. What does your actual system look like?
The actual system looks like everybody being on the quarterly smart plan. In the morning, when I open up Command, it shows me the 15-ish people that I'm supposed to talk to that day. Depending on the quarter, I alter what my communication is. So frankly, they're not all phone calls. I'll get to how I touch them in different ways separately, but they're not all phone calls for my quarterly touch. They're really a combination of text, email, and call. Now, the message is what changes. Q1 is Happy New Year. Checking in, how was your holiday season? Can you believe we're in a new year? That kind of a thing. Q2 is where I'm really coming at them from a real estate message. So that's updating them on what's going on in the market right now, what's going on with buyers and sellers, so I can really try to tie people down to an appointment. I've got a link to my calendar in there where I'm asking people, hey, if you know of someone, click here. And so that one's a little bit more businessy driven. And then we go into Q3 where I'm going to swing back around to a little bit more of an emotional connection. Just checking in. How's your summer going? What have you been up to? And just trying to connect in that way that doesn't come as naturally to me. And then Q4, most of the time we're hitting them twice. And so sometimes it's going to be back to that business conversation. Here's where the year is at. Here's where we're wrapping up at, that kind of a thing. But it's also going to be typically a gratitude message between November and December. And so sometimes I'm combining those two worlds apart or together, but sometimes I'm pulling them apart and making those two separate touches. But when the quarterly kind of thing pops up, whatever I'm talking about at that moment, that's what the conversation is. So that's how I systemize that quarterly piece of it.
And I heard you say, so essentially you're 5 touches a year is what you're doing with everybody in your database at a minimum.
At not even sort of close to minimum. So that's what I use the quarterly smart plan for. That would be very baby step 1. Step 2 is going to be what emails are they receiving from me. Everyone in the database is going to be in our general email kind of bucket that we run that is essentially more like, if I think back to the newsletter type emails, but much more boiled down. Anyone we've got an address for is going to be on neighborhood smart plans. We host a few different events a year, and each year we mix it up a little bit, but some kind of consistent winners we have is the movie event. The cost, ROI on that is awesome, and it makes for an easy win for either if we're going to go like a kid focus with a kid movie, or we've done Guardians of the Galaxy, and so like there's a lot of grown-ups who come and are all in on that. I call them grown-ups, my friends. But so we can do movie events. We do a big pie giveaway every year. We do typically some sort of sporting event, at least one, but sometimes two. So the last few years in a row, we've been renting out a big chunk of seats for the Suns games. I'm a diehard Suns fan, and so we like to bring our top people to that. We've done a Cardinals game. That one's a lot more expensive. And so now what we do is we'll rent out a section of a local bar where they're playing one of the Cardinals games. And so we'll bring balloons and decoration, and we'll treat everyone to drinks and food and stuff like that. So all those events have their own touch campaign associated with them. Of course, once they've RSVP'd, then they get the touches associated with that, or 2 reminders ahead of time. Sometimes that's text, sometimes it's email. And then they're also going to get the after event communication.
So to summarize what we've talked about so far with your touch campaign, so you do your quarterly calls, but you actually add an extra one at the end of the year, so 5 calls a year. We've also talked through your email plan, and so you do 2 a month at least, so 24 emails a year. What else?
We're really focused on trying to celebrate occasions that their real estate agent probably would not be inserting themselves into. So we find out a client's getting married, we try to find their wedding registry, send them something that maybe somebody didn't get them. If we have someone who just got a new job or something, maybe we're sending them crumble cookies in the mail, so that way they can get a little sweet treat. Flowers for a variety of occasions. When we have baby announcements, then maybe that's sending a onesie or something like that. We really want to stand out in a way that, I just remember when I was pregnant, getting a gift from someone that was like not at a shower, because it's really overwhelming, that really just stands out in my mind. And so I wanted to be that for other people. And so finding unique ways where we can gift give. Our goal is 5 a month.
What other technology tools do you just use naturally at any part of your business? So maybe that's the social media pieces. Maybe it's a separate tool that plugs into your database.
How we're integrating other stuff with Command is probably not as stellar as I'm sure other agents are doing. I always laughingly say I'm the worst millennial you'll ever meet. I hate getting a new phone. I don't want to shop for technology. It took my assistant 2 years to convince me to download the Starbucks app because I just don't like downloading apps. So I'm not really the greatest person about technology. Now, I'm certain we're underutilizing Command. And yet, what we're utilizing Command for checks every box that I need. For example, we could be using designs at a higher level, and I'm aware that we could be using designs at a higher level, but we don't have to design as many things, right? We're a very face-to-face business, and so it isn't something that we've had to put a lot of energy and effort into. Outside of Command, my absolute favorite tool is another KW connection that we have, which would be the KW link through Gmail. I know that's such a simple thing, but Gmail's extensions that it offers makes my life a lot easier. For social media, we're on Facebook and Instagram. As I have gotten older, I have moved away from Facebook and towards Instagram. And so I would say my agent database is in Facebook, and since we do so much agent referral, I work to continue to have that be stimulating in some capacity because I want to make sure those agents don't forget about me. But I would say my Instagram is a lot more database driven of who's around it, and I would say that's probably our primary lever. My goal is for people to never forget I'm a real estate agent, but to be me. So it features, frankly, what I would consider to be a pretty messy life. I've posted ridiculous things my kids have said or done or whatever the case is because to me, that's funny. And being authentic is really important to me. So I just show what my real life looks like. I also am very purposeful about having a fun life. So I go on a lot of trips and I do things that are really important to my husband and I. And so I share that kind of stuff too. And so while I say like I show my messy life, it is very authentic and I do have a lot of fun. And so I think sometimes that might look overly polished, but that's because I work really hard to have a life that I'm proud of.
I love that. And I mean, that's a part of our mission statement, right? So that's wonderful. Well, I mean, this has been amazing. For everybody watching, we're so glad that you tuned in. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can find out more about amazing people like Kelly Henderson here.
Thank you for having me, Meredith.
Thanks so much, Kelly.